What's up, YouTube people? It's your boy Patty McNinja, and last week we got another much anticipated video game release. I personally wasn't that excited for this game just because I'm just not a fan of looter shooters, but I know a lot of people were excited for Borderlands 4, and to say the launch of Borderlands 4 has been off to a rocky start would be an understatement. Obviously, since I'm making this video, I want to talk about it. So without further ado, let's rock. And if we're being honest, the promo for Borderlands 4 didn't necessarily start off on the best foot. So the CEO of Gearbox, a guy named Randy Pitchford, which is going to be, he's going to be somebody that we're going to talk about quite a lot in this video. Side note, that dude needs some PR training, but we'll get more into that here later in the video. But he basically said, because there was rumors initially that this game was going to kind of follow the lead of Mario Kart World, and it was going to be $80. And he came out during that rumor cycle that the game was going to be $80, and he basically, and I'm paraphrasing at this point, but he essentially said that gamers, like real fans of this franchise, would find a way to pay whatever price they were going to charge for this game. So essentially he was peer pressuring gamers to buy this game, and if you didn't want to buy this game at whatever price that they decided, most likely $80, you weren't a real fan of Borderlands, which is a real kind of let them eat cake moment, in my opinion. It's really weird and not a good look for, I'm assuming, a millionaire CEO. I don't know that for a fact, but I bet he's well off, to say the least. It's a pretty bad look when you're essentially peer pressuring gamers into paying more money when gaming is already a pretty expensive hobby to begin with. And it turns out the game wasn't $80, which I believe is due to the fact that people were really pissed after he said this. Like, there was quite the backlash to him saying this, because if it was originally going to be $70 from the get-go, and they weren't at least considering charging $80, then instead of peer pressuring gamers into paying whatever price, kind of saying what he said, he would have just been like, nope, that's fake news. It's $70. You don't have to worry about it. We're not charging $80, $90, or $100 for this game. The base game is just going to be $70. But because he didn't say that, at least they hadn't quite decided what the game's price was going to be. They were at least considering charging more than $70, or that he would have just said that from the get-go. Luckily for Borderlands 4, the backlash over its potential $80 price tag did not affect its score within critics. It currently has an 84 on Metacritic for the critic score, and it seems like, based on the critics reviews that I've read, that one of the major critiques of Borderlands 3, I didn't personally play that game, but apparently the biggest critique about that game is they took the humor a little too far, and apparently they toned that down with the fourth game, and also they didn't really try to reinvent the wheel with the looter shooter genre. They just kind of redefined it a little bit. They kind of tweaked what they could tweak and didn't really change a ton. So it sounds like, again, this is not a genre that I'm a huge fan of, but it sounds like if you are a fan of the looter shooter genre and you've liked the other Borderlands games, you're going to like this game. Borderlands 4 did get a surprise promo, at least surprise from my perspective. It's not something that they do very often, but it actually got its own episode of Clueless Gamer. And if you're not aware what Clueless Gamer is, I'd imagine if you're watching this video, you probably do. But one of my personal comedy heroes is Conan O'Brien. And when he used to do, I think it was just with his TBS show, I don't know if he did it when he was doing late night, but one segment that he used to do on his TBS show a lot was he would play video games with his kind of nerdier assistant, Aaron Blair, and usually a celebrity would join them as well. And as the title of the segment would suggest, Conan's not very good at games. He doesn't really like video games. And so he basically would just play them poorly and kind of just trash them the whole time. And he really doesn't do Clueless Gamer all that much anymore. And so when I saw that there was a new episode, even though it wasn't a game I was interested in, Borderlands 4, I was at least excited to see what the episode was going to be, because I love Clueless Gamer. I used to way back when I started YouTube forever ago, and Let's Plays were still kind of a thing back then. I really kind of wanted my Let's Plays to be Clueless Gamer, even though I'm not a Clueless Gamer. I'm just not anywhere close to as funny as Conan O'Brien, so obviously it just never really took off like that. But that was kind of my goal. Is I love this. My personal favorite episode is when he played a Final Fantasy 15 with Elijah Wood, and they literally are just spending the entire episode just trashing the game and the purpose of the game, while the developers are sitting outside watching them trash the game. And it was really funny. So I love this show, and I was really excited to see that they had a new episode. Now, the episode as a whole was fine. It was pretty unremarkable, but there was one particular thing that happened during this episode that I thought was relevant to this particular video, and that is the game literally crashed while they were playing it. And they do kind of play it off as a bit. They kind of play it off that Aaron kind of pranked Conan by making the game crash while he was playing it, kind of set him up for a prank. And I thought that was kind of weird. Like, it just, the joke itself just didn't really do it for me. And I was like, well, that was kind of weird that they even put that in there, because it doesn't really reflect, even if it was a prank, it doesn't really reflect on the game very well. And I just kind of just assumed it was because they didn't really have the greatest footage for this episode of Clueless Gamer, because Conan was kind of just doing his kind of creepy Conan. There's an attractive woman that kind of pops in and out of this episode, and he's kind of doing his creeping on ladies bit that he does a lot on his talk show, which can be funny, but it doesn't always work for me. So for me, this episode just really didn't do it for me. So I just thought it was kind of a, maybe they just threw it in because it was a funny bit and they didn't really have a whole lot of good material for this particular episode. But now that we know a little bit more about the launch of this game, it kind of makes sense. It's kind of foreshadowing the launch of this game. And maybe it wasn't just some dumb throwaway bit on an episode of Clueless Gamer. Maybe it's actually a real problem this game has, because I don't know if you noticed, I kind of did this on purpose. I left the user score on the screen when I talked about Metacritic, and I didn't bring up the fact that there was a large difference between the critic score and the user score. Because right now, as of recording this, it is kind of getting review bombed. I don't know if it's quite to the review bomb status just yet, but PC players are furious about Borderlands 4's launch. It currently has a 5.2 on Metacritic, and it's currently has the review rating of mixed on Steam. So this launch has not gone well. And while there are other complaints for sure, the few reviews that I've read basically boil down to one major complaint, and that is performance on PC is not good, to say the least. It's subpar to be nice to Borderlands 4. It just, unless you have a top tier rig, a top tier gaming setup, you're not going to be able to play Borderlands 4 as it's currently constructed. Maybe they come out with a patch later, which I don't think they will, based on something that we're going to talk about here in a little bit. But maybe they come out with a patch later that makes it a little bit more optimized on PC. But right now, it seems like unless you have just a top tier rig, you're going to have to tweak the settings on Borderlands 4 to get it to work on your PC. And I'm going to say something, and I'm sure my longtime viewers are already rolling their eyes, because I'm sure that they already know what I'm about to say. But as I've said on a million videos before this, I'm not a frames per second guy. As long as a game runs well and it doesn't crash and I don't have like major performance issues, I'm fine. If it runs at 58 or 59 frames per second instead of 60, I'm gonna usually not make that big of a deal about it. However, I typically play most games on my console. Yes, I have a gaming PC, but I just do a lot of stuff on PC. So that's kind of more for that. I typically will play my games on console just because I grew up playing on a console. I didn't have a real gaming PC until like 10 years ago. So I'm still kind of used to just playing things on console, and that's what I prefer, and that's kind of my default. Now, if there's a game that for whatever reason is only on PC or plays well on my Steam Deck or something like that, then I might consider playing it on PC. However, the people that are buying this particular game on PC are the people that care about this kind of stuff. They care about the frames per second. They're paying thousands of dollars, not just for the PC itself, but then of course you have to have the monitor to match. If your PC can run a game at a certain resolution or whatever, frame rate or whatever it is, you still have to have a monitor that matches that. And so you have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars to get a great gaming PC setup. And for you to have a game come out and not be optimized for a PC, because from what I understand, it doesn't really matter that much about the PC setup. It's really, this game just doesn't really run on PC all that much. That no matter what your rig, unless it's an insane rig, from what I understand, you really have to tweak the settings no matter what. And for me, given the audience, that just doesn't feel right. Now, PC gamers, don't you worry. Our old friend Randy is swooping in to save the day. He tweeted this out after the concerns about PC performance were kind of starting to brew when it first launched. He tweeted this out: "The day one patch does a lot. That said, the expectation for using a below min spec machine should be that the game is unplayable. So essentially, it's your fault if this game can't play. That the game runs at all on your system is a miracle. That you can get 55 to 60 frames per second out of heavy combat is actually incredible given how the engine and what's going on under the hood. Your specification doesn't indicate if you're on SDD or HDD, but that could also explain some of the hitching. It's a big, bold, new, seamless world, and I'm sorry to say that old hardware may not provide smooth performance for the latest gen AAA games, as it has always been the case since the dawn of PC gaming." I'm not sure why I struggled so much to read off that, but essentially he's saying this game is awesome. It's gonna revolutionize gaming, and if you can't play it on your PC, it's your fault. You're poor and you should have a better rig, essentially. And a little behind the scenes, I prep all these videos early on Monday. I prep it early on Monday, I record it when I get home from work on Monday, and then I edit and I get it all ready to post on Tuesday. So I had basically prepped this entire video. I had all the articles I was going to talk about, everything. I got the links so I could easily put that in the video description, all that good stuff. I had all that stuff prepared. And Randy Pitchford, our good buddy Randy, just literally couldn't keep his mouth shut and has made it so much worse. He has re-entered the chat and made it so much worse. And I promise you, I'm not just trying to pick on this dude, but somebody needs to get in his ear and tell him to shut the hell up. He must love the taste of his shoes because he constantly is putting his foot in his mouth. This time, essentially again, complaining about gamers to gamers, that if this game doesn't perform well on your PC, essentially, you should, and I'm quoting him from this article, you should code your own engine and show us how it's done. So basically, it's not their fault. If you know better than them, because you clearly do because you're complaining about it, in his view, you should do it yourself. And he goes on to say, it gets a little bit worse, honestly. So basically, he says, again, he codes your own engine and show us how it's done, and declare Borderlands 4 a premium game made for premium gamers. Again, another like elitist thing to say, So he complained, and we talked about this at the beginning of the video, that he essentially said that you should essentially pay what we tell you to pay, and that only real fans will pay what we charge them. And now he's complaining basically, if you're poor and you can't afford a top tier rig, this game really isn't for you. It's awesome and I wish you could play it, but if you can't, then it's because you're poor and it's not our fault at all. But as always, it's just my opinions on Borderlands 4's launch. I'd love to hear yours in the comments down below, especially if you bought this game, especially if you bought this game on PC. Let me know, kind of give us your specs for your PC, and let me know if you can actually run this game on your current setup. But of course, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, smash that like button, as the kids say. It's just a quick and easy way to tell YouTube that you enjoyed this video, and they should push it to other people that might enjoy it as well. If you especially enjoyed this video, which I imagine you did if you've made it this far in the video, and you haven't already, definitely consider subscribing. If you do subscribe, ding that bell. That way you're notified every time I either post one of these videos. I post a lot of shorts throughout the week, and I also have been live streaming a lot. I also, side note, have been posting kind of a video version of my podcast, The Nerd You're Looking For. I'm going to start doing that every Saturday. So if you're into that, definitely consider subscribing and dinging that bell. But until next video, take it easy. What's up, YouTube people? It's your boy Patty McNinja, and this is my boy Yoshi, aka Kitty Boy. And we were just talking, and we agree that since you made it this far in the video, you might as well subscribe. You wouldn't want to disappoint Kitty Boy, would you?